Hey metalheads, you like tattoos? Of course you do. If you're in the Louisville, Kentucky area, come on over the bridge to Clarksville, Indiana, and get you some ink done at Ageless Art. If ink isn't your thing, they have a piercing studio as well. Visit agelessartclarksville.com to see some frequently asked questions, meet the staff. The shop is open Monday through Thursday, 12 to 8 p.m., Saturdays, 12 to 10 p.m., and Sundays, 12 to 6 p.m., all appointment-only spots. You can set up your appointments by phone at 812-283-1793 or email agelessarttattooandpiercing@gmail.com and someone will get you set up for your first or your next tattoo or piercing.
Hey, it's Jeff McNichol down here at Mom's Music, 1900 Melwood Avenue. I was just thinking, when I was a kid, the magic was at Frankfort Avenue, the Mom's Music at Frankfort Avenue, and I used to beg people to get a ride down there just to hang out with the guys and see all the cool gear. Now that I'm the owner of this store, it's like a dream come true. We're recreating the magic with the vibe that we used to have at the old store. We're carrying all the gear that you're going to possibly want. We're giving you the outstanding service and personal attention that you deserve. Yeah, so we've got the great guitar shop here. We're carrying USA Fender, USA Gibson, Paul Reed Smith, Gretsch, Jackson, Charvel, anything you could possibly want, we're going to have it for you. Mom's is and always will be Louisville's music store.
Thank you for tuning into the Metal Forge. I am Mark Jackson and I'm your host. The premise of the show is pretty simple. Awesome interviews and awesome music. If you want to contact me, hit me up at metalforgeradio@gmail.com or visit the website metalforgeradio.com. And now let's get this show on the road. Thank you all for tuning into the Metal Forge. My name is Mark Jackson and I am your host. Today I have Quinton Byrd from the Histrionics here in the Metal Forge studio. We're going to be talking about their awesome amalgamation of killer fucking 60s psych and 90s grunge crossover music. Heavy for sure. It's one of those things that I've always said, that just because something isn't metal and it isn't played with like a fuck ton of distortion doesn't mean that it can't be heavy. Tom T. fucking Hall, rest in peace, can be fucking heavy as shit. Hank Williams can be heavy as shit. It's just in what you say and how you say it. I've always been an advocate for that. It's not about just distorted guitars. It can be heavy subject matter. And that's what is going on here as well, not to mention the distorted guitars. So, I did mention the grunge aspect of it. And earlier this week in the news, the dude from the baby from the Nevermind album cover is suing Dave Grohl, Kurt Novoselic, Courtney Love, and the estate, David Geffen, and like Universal Music Group, who I think owns the fucking Geffen Corporation now, is suing for $150,000 each. But because of child exploitation. Is this not fucked up to everybody? Not only has he recreated the album cover several times in his life, but he now, all of a sudden, he's fucking like suing them for this, and it seems like a cash grab to me. What are your thoughts? Shoot me a message on them. I want to hear what you all think. I'll read them next week on the show here. But anyways, other than that, how the fuck you all doing? Here we are at the end of August. This is the last episode in August. This has been a really fast fucking year. Now that things are started to get reopened and now closing again in most places, it's really weird. I'm waiting any time for any of the shows that I'm playing that are just going to be like, all right, we need a COVID verification like thing where your vaccine verification or a negative COVID test for 72 hours prior to the show. So I'm waiting for that stuff to happen everywhere, actually. Which, yes, you should. Go out, get your vaccine. You know, it is saving lives. Seriously. So, but enough of the COVID talk and everything. It's been one of those things that over the last year and a half, we've beaten into the fucking ground here on the show. You know, leading into the general profile questions, I talk about it all the time. I'm really trying to get away from talking about COVID in the show and how the pandemic has affected people, because I think we all know, because it's affected all of us differently. But the musicians and everything, I think it's something that has greatly affected them all pretty much the same. You know, they didn't get to tour, and just shout out. So please, give every musician that comes on the show a like, a share, a follow. Go to their Bandcamp page, buy some merch. If they're starting to tour again, go out and see these bands at the earliest possible convenience that you feel safe enough to. And just support them, because that's what really matters, supporting these bands. And, you know, I did say something a couple of weeks ago about me buying all of the material that I play on the show, all the albums, all the songs, everything, that I buy that from these. And I think I kind of came off as whiny about that. But my thing about it is like, you know, that is the way I can support them, as well as like putting them out there for you all, so you can hear these bands and you can support them. But that's my way of supporting them as well. So I just wanted to clarify that, because after listening back to the show, I felt a little guilty about saying it the way I did. So anyway, down below there are links to the sponsors, and without you guys supporting them, they can't support the Metal Forge either. And I am so grateful that you all do help these businesses. Whether you're listening to their podcasts, you're buying instruments from them, you're going and getting tattoos, you're going to the Discogs page. Thank you all so much, and continue to please support all of these guys. You know, Ageless Art, Tattoo and Piercing, Mom's Music, Maxwell's House of Music, Better Days Records, Unchained Tapes, Mercenary Press, The Wrestling Steve Show, The Night Demon Heavy Metal Podcast, the It's Gonna Get Weird Podcast. Keep supporting those guys, because every bit helps us at the Metal Forge, and it helps them too. Y'all are fucking awesome. Thank you so much. Also, making sure you all click on the Spotify playlists as well. You get to hear all of the previous bands that have been on the show, and you'll be supporting those people as well too. Thank you all. So let's get into this. This is from the Histrionics. This is Nervous Wreck.
It's okay to lie. So I got on my back, took a breath of the pollution, and we can fuck. So I know your arms out to reach me, I know you're only pretending. Forget that we're lying. You can give it all, and I'll take none, and we can just keep pretending. I'll let you take all that I don't have, and we can just keep pretending. Inside my white picket fence, I open up my door, take a breath of the pollution, and we can close the door again. I know your arms out to reach me, I know you're only pretending. You got it all figured out now, but you forget that we're lying. You can give it all, and I'll take none, and we can just keep pretending. I'll let you take all
All right, metalheads. Hang on. That's weird because last week I said the same thing, and Jared Kelly from the Brake Lights, who is a punk artist who is also a metalhead, was here in the studio. And here's another in the studio with Quinton Byrd from the Histrionics.
That would be me.
Dude, what's going on?
Life, I guess. Shit, I don't know.
Right? And you know, this is a podcast, so you can say shit you don't know.
Good. Yeah, okay, good. I had a light panic attack when I said that.
Yeah, back in the day, I'm sitting here playing with stuff on my desk because I'm not usually at my desk. I'm usually doing these at the dining room table, so I got to put that stuff down, or else I'm going to be like fidgeting the whole show.
I'm probably going to be fidgeting anyway with nothing in my hands.
Definitely, but see, you got the royal treatment. You got a tablecloth on your table.
Oh, yeah.
You know, you're getting to sit next to the big bass rig from the Overload bass rig that I don't take out to shows anymore because I'm old.
You're not going to blast me with it, are you?
No. I mean, it is loud. It's super loud, but I think the neighbors would get pissed if I turned it on. And I already know how the cops are in this city, and fuck them. Sorry.
God damn.
Yeah. Okay. Sometimes they are. I mean, they pull you over for going 32 and a 30.
Oh, yeah. Lord.
Mm-hmm.
I had a bit of a panic attack. I'm a very disorganized person. And so I had all my, I've had everything registered and everything, and I forgot to put the sticker on, so it looked like I was unregistered for 8 months.
Oh, wow.
Something like that. I was so lucky I had it in my glove compartment. I was having a panic attack thinking I was going to go to jail.
Oh, gosh. See, and that's crazy because I think they can still run them and see that it's registered.
Yeah, no, they were cool about it. I was very lucky.
That's shocking.
Very lucky.
Because normally they'd see that you have long hair and be like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
You know?
Who's this fucking stoner?
Right. So tell everybody out in Metal Forge land about the Histrionics.
Oh, we're like a weird psych, grunge, punk thing. We have no idea what the hell we are. I've been... on the Leo, they told us we sounded like Jim Morrison rose from the grave and recruited PJ Harvey to make music like weird avant grunge or something like that. Which is
nice.
It was the best compliment I've ever been given because I love both of those artists. But yeah, we're like if Jim Morrison was the front man for Nirvana, I think is how I would describe it.
Interesting. Which is, I think it's very, very true from what I've listened to.
Yeah.
And you guys are a three-piece, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you sing and play guitar.
Yes, I do. Yeah.
Awesome. So you recently had Static come out.
We did. That is correct.
Tell us about that.
It's a concept album about poverty and hell in a sense. It's not necessarily hell. And just it's sort of an upside down take on the American dream is the way I would describe it. So,
right on. Which is interesting to be, you know, you get the concept from the Morrison stuff, I would think.
No, actually.
No?
No, when I started writing it, I didn't even know what a concept album was.
And it just kind of happened.
Yeah, I thought, what if all the songs were connected, I don't know, like how in games, you know, you might have, say in Halo, right? You have levels, things like that. And those all get together and they create a big coherent story. And I thought, well, why don't I just do that with music? And then I learned about concept albums like a year later. I was very young.
Interesting. So has this been something that you personally have been writing for a while now? Oh,
yeah. I started writing this at maybe 8th grade. But it sucked back then, to be clear. It was not good. But I started writing this and maybe I got my first guitar for Christmas and in 8th grade. And I learned the C chord. And I tried to write a song out of only the C chord immediately. Almost as soon as I got out of the box. And it was actually, I take that back. It was a really good Keith Urban guitar. And I started writing with the C chord, and it was absolutely horrible, but I was so proud of it, you know?
Right.
Because it's something that you made. It didn't exist before, or at least.
It's very interesting to be a songwriter because of that concept.
Yeah.
Because you can actually get there and you can create something from nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's just a vocal melody, you have a great way you can write and put pen to paper. But when you learn how to play an instrument, it unlocks a door in the mind, I think.
Yeah.
That I know there are a ton of musicians out there and a lot of people can do it. It unlocks a door into your mind that even people who play music that have this innate ability to just hear something and play it, I think there is a time where, it feels a certain way for you to do it as a person, as a musician, that everybody has their own pathway in music. There are no two people that are alike, even in like these great songwriting teams, Simon and Garfunkel, Jagger and Keith, the Beatles, Kiss, Metallica. Everybody has to take their own way to get to that point.
Mm-hmm. I think even within bands, I feel like if we all grew up, if every member of my band grew up listening to the exact same music, I wouldn't be as incredibly proud of it as I am.
Absolutely. I could get that.
From the start of when I created this music, I always thought like I wanted this music to be collaborative. I didn't want it to just be me adding into everything. I wanted to mainly like be in control of like things like lyrics because, I have like the big picture of what it's supposed to turn out. But in terms of just music and the way that things go, I always wanted to feel like it wasn't just me on that,
Right. And that's actually a very good thing to have as a musician, that you realize that it doesn't take just one person to do it. It does take the entire group to do stuff like that. And I think the bands and artists out there that are just those single artists, that you can tell it's a single artist contribution. Like, the Doors, for example, are definitely not a single artist contribution band. Even though you've seen in the past, like, the biopic, The Doors from Oliver Stone in the 90s, and just other things like Mr. Mojo Horizon, the making of L.A. Woman, you can see how they all had their integral part to create that music, which is what I love about that series from Eagle Rock Entertainment, the classic album series, is because it shows you what makes this album great, which is so cool because in all of those instances, it's not just one person.
Yeah.
It comes down to everything. It comes down to how many times a song was recorded. Like if it's take 37, or if it's, the production team that, where you're singly splicing in single snare hits on a tape.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
And I think of Led Zeppelin as well, where each individual member brought something, like would bring incredibly unique pieces to like what they were doing. You know what I mean? Like they all collaborated, but they all had their own unique ways of interacting.
Absolutely.
And
like for example, Jimmy Page and Bonzo, for that matter. Both of those guys were on the forefront of getting different sounds.
Yeah.
Not just from an instrument played, but to the way an instrument was recorded. Because Jimmy would be miking cabinets, he would be miking behind, he would be miking an ambient mic, and Bonzo was doing the same thing. I believe there was on one of the albums, I can't remember which one it is, where Bonzo played the drums in a stone room, and he was mic'd in there and just had this ridiculous room reverb from it was basically like a well cavern is what it was, that they put him in there. And to think of that happening in the 60s and 70s, everybody does stuff. It's all a filter now, it's all a plug-in on the computer today. But like, to get those strange recording techniques, you're just throwing shit at the wall and seeing what works.
Actually, I remember a really long time ago, I was always looking at different ways to play the guitar. And like from the very first time I, had an electric guitar and a distortion pedal and things. And I remember looking into it and seeing Jimmy Page playing it with a violin bow.
Oh, yeah.
And just having a shitload of reverb on that thing. But it sounded really nice. And that's kind of stuck in my mind for years afterward. And I guess I just kind of, I think about different ways to play the guitar a lot as a result.
Absolutely. And like, again, you've got to be inventive. This is the reason why I say any 5 dudes can get up on a stage and play a show. It's about the performance. It's about the visual that goes along with the audio. Yeah. Because if the audio is only half of it, you have to have a good product. You have to have people want to come and see you. Mm-hmm. Because it, like I said, whether you throw down on stage or you have this amazing stage show. People go see Kiss. I have a love-hate relationship with Kiss because I love the party rock thing from the 70s. And, I think ultimately in my generation, that's usually the first band that people get into on their own, it seems like, because they see pictures of them or they see a movie. And like I saw Dazed and Confused and I was just like, what the hell? Who are these guys? Who's Kiss? And then I got into them. And then I'd never seen them live until 2019. Mm-hmm. And it is the show. I'm not going to see them perform the songs because, I've heard the songs so many times with rock radio, but it is the performance. It's the show. And I think, whether it's inventive playing, like Ace Frehley with the pickup catching on fire and, Gene blowing fire and with the sword and doing his thing in the blood. And
I'm going to have to look up more Kiss shows.
Yeah.
I have not heard about that.
Yeah, it's all good. It's showing age right now. But being inventive with your instrument, like even Peter Frampton with the talk box. It's things like that you have to get into. Hendrix with the burning the guitar.
Yeah, I was thinking that.
It's all of that stuff. And to be able to captivate an audience with it, there you go.
I'd love to light a guitar on fire, but I'm too poor. I can't afford it.
Right.
I can't afford to get a new one.
Well, the thing is you find them in used shops.
Yeah.
Yeah, you find this real crappy. No, don't do that. Because, as much as I appreciate the guitar fire thing, the burning of the guitar, it always seems like, even if it's a piece of, no pun intended, firewood, that's what I've always referred to really shitty instruments is firewood because that's what it feels like you're playing. You're playing like a neck that's like feels like a 2x4.
Yeah.
And I still feel like there is somebody who has probably learned on something like that, and it would probably feel like gold to them.
Yeah.
And I always say support the arts, support music in schools and stuff like that. So
I bought a Strat a real long time ago. It was the first guitar I ever bought on my own, and it wasn't a real Strat. It was like a fake. It wasn't even Chinese. It was like I don't know. I think it was South American or something like that.
Oh wow!
And I played on it, and I loved that thing. But God, would I never touch it now?
It was a Strat copy.
It was a Strat copy.
Okay.
Yeah. I put hot rails on it and everything, trying to make it sound.
Hey guys, Wrestling Steve of the Wrestling Steve Show here. So if you're currently listening to the Metal Forge with Mark Jackson, then you understand that Mark Jackson has a pretty discerning taste when it comes to music as a whole. You'll also understand that he has a discerning taste for professional wrestling, just like me. My show is called the Wrestling Steve Show. I talk about modern and classic pro wrestling in a completely unbiased, unfiltered way. Be sure to check me out on all available podcasting platforms. That is the Wrestling Steve Show. And I am the host, Wrestling Steve. Just remember, like Confucius said, man who goes through turnstile in Thailand is going to Bangkok. Pro wrestling.
Hey, it's Mark Maxwell at Maxwell's House of Music. Listen, all this stuff is now available to purchase on our website. Check it out at maxwellshouseofmusic.com.
We carry all the top brands, like Fender.
We got Gibson.
We also have basses.
We've got ukuleles.
We got drums.
We've got sound gear.
We've got keyboards.
It reminds me of when I was like a lot younger. I used to work at a a venue actually nearby here called New Albany Production House, like right down the street.
Absolutely. I know exactly where it is.
Yeah. Guy who ran it is my cousin, actually, Corey Pollard, who also
I know
album.
Corey.
Oh, well, everybody does. That's the thing about Corey, man. You can't go nowhere where somebody doesn't know him.
I know.
But,
I feel the same way.
Yeah. But I remember seeing there was this one band that every single time they would get on stage, this dude would just bleed from his fingers all over his guitar. And I have no idea what was causing that. And I think it was from this picking hand. But, God, did that stick out to me. And there was so much blood at New Albany Production House for no reason.
Right.
I remember.
And then there was also wrestling shows there. So the blood from the wrestling shows, too. That
Yeah.
was for the reason, though.
Those were some of my favorites. God.
Absolutely.
Me up.
Absolutely. So what gear do you play on now?
I play on my drummer lets me borrow his Fender amp. And then I run that through a big old Randall 2x4 cab.
Okay.
And then I've got actually 2 amps that I'll usually play through. The other one is a Black Star. The second
Nice.
amp is because I've got a pedal called a Mellotron pedal.
Yeah.
That simulates like a Mellotron the same way that, say, King Crimson on their album would use, right? And I love the way that it blends with my guitar. I love it so much. But yeah, it's pretty much. And I've got an SG as a guitar, an Epiphone SG.
Nice.
Yeah.
And SGs are awesome.
I love them.
I mean,
God bless it.
yeah. I mean, even the Epiphone models, you can still get great mileage out of those guitars.
Yeah.
You can get it's insane because the Epiphone pickups are not usually that great. I've ever come to realize.
Yeah.
And you can really hot rod those out.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing I don't care for with the SGs is the body is so light and the neck is so heavy that it almost doesn't it never balances out. And if you're not careful, that thing will swing to the floor. And it's like, shit.
I think I don't even notice. When I play, I get like a weird, especially when I play shows, I get like a weird high.
Oh,
I'm
absolutely.
I'm known to stumble around all over the place when I'm playing. Like, not while I'm singing, of course. I keep myself balanced and whatnot, but
Yeah,
I
in the
will hit
moment.
the floor. Yeah, in a moment, definitely. So I don't ever notice the weight. I guess I just kind of play and hope to God it works out.
I think when I used mine live, I think it was more along the line of between songs. Like if I ever talked and didn't have my hands on the guitar, it would just whoop and dip. So I do notice it there more than anything.
I think people make fun of me because I play with my guitar so damn high up that I just
like Tom Morello,
yeah.
Which is funny because if you were to wear my bass right now, it would probably hang to your knees because I play my bass super low.
I think my bassist does as well. Yeah, from what I remember.
That's great stuff. So the album came out in January of this year. What do we have going for the future?
Oh, we're already working on a new album. Another one that I've been working on for years. But not to get too far into that, it's called The Ugliest Part. You Are the Ugliest Part of My Body. It's meant to be a little bit weird. It's a concept album that I don't want to get too deep into.
No, definitely not.
But
because we got to save something for when it does come out.
Yeah, and we're trying to play as many shows as we can. We plan on going to La La Land to record that with Anne Gauthier.
Nice.
She's produced a lot of wonderful albums that we like over the years.
I've heard some great stuff come out of there over the years as well.
Yeah. So we're very excited about what the future holds there. So
now, if you're going there, if I'm not mistaken, they're one of the only, if not the only, studio in the Louisville, Kentucky area that has a tape deck, 2-inch tape. Would this ever be something that you would consider? I know tape is a costly thing these days. The last I checked, it was like $50 or $60 a reel.
Yeah,
which is for a half an hour. And but it's 24 channel. It's all encompassing 2-inch tape. Would that ever be something that you would consider doing?
I don't see why not. I'm very interested in different ways of recording. Like even with this album, we wanted it to sound a little bit old. You know what I mean? And I mean, when I got out there, I remember like the first thing I noticed is their gear is just way like the room. Just it's everything they have is just so like it's gigantic to the point where it's overwhelming just to look at.
Right.
I'm very curious as to what we can do, and I think that they'll be able to do a lot for us.
Absolutely. And like I said, I know people who have recorded there, and it's insane.
Yeah.
They get such a great sound.
Mm-hmm.
And it's almost like Louisville Sound City almost.
Yeah.
I mean, in all actuality, there are a ton of people that I know who have recorded there. Not necessarily so many in the hard rock and metal genre, but I do know a lot of other people, like singer-songwriter people, who have recorded there, and just has this different sound.
Yeah, I think what attracted me to La La Land was Girlwood's Daddy, which is a whole topic I'm not going to go too far into, and White Reaper. White Reaper.
Oh,
Does It
absolutely.
Again, I think is what they recorded out there. So I mean, it's just kind of. I think they're really good for recording punk music, and I was also really proud with Corey. Corey of House Productions recorded this album, Static, and God, I love the way he records drums, man. I'm so impressed with Corey every time I see him. I swear it.
So would this be something that you would actually consider bringing Corey on as a producer on this as well?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
See, and
no
that's
question.
awesome.
Absolutely. I mean, like, we're so proud every time we listen to it. We're so proud of like just how well he got it to flow, how just hard hitting it can be. Yeah. And we just there's no question in my mind that Corey will always be a part of what we do. Yeah.
Awesome. See, and Corey's such a cool dude.
I love him.
I haven't seen him in such a long time, but he was always cool. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and shift gears here. I like to ask some general profile questions about people, just as people, just to see what makes them tick. Are you good to go with that?
I'm cool with that.
All right. What do you do to get away from music?
Video games, easy. Like actually, video games easily inspires a lot of my music. To be honest, I love like Skyrim. I still play it to this day. I got it on PC. I probably have it on 3 different fucking consoles at this point because I just love the way that it builds a world. I think that really influenced me actually.
Definitely.
And Hideo Kojima, who he did like he was going to do a Silent Hill remake, and the way that he managed to build just this massive like this thing that everybody wanted to know what it was in a very short period of time with this demo that he dropped. It absolutely influences my music. No question about it.
I get that. And I do the same thing with albums, by the way.
Yeah.
Get it on different media.
Yeah.
Like if I get it on tape, CD, and vinyl.
Yeah.
Like
exactly.
you do for PC, Xbox, and
yeah. I'm definitely a video games person. Too much so, I would say.
Absolutely. And no, the open world concept is great. I mean, I used to play D&D for that same reason because you could the plethora of like stories that you could come up with.
There's a beauty to it when you can create a world.
Absolutely.
That's what I always keep in mind.
What song could you never tire of listening to?
Oh my God, there's anything. I'm a massive Nirvana fan. Anything on In Utero especially, and Nevermind. Who the fuck am I kidding?
Happy 30th birthday to Nevermind, by the way.
It just turned 30?
It turns 30 this year.
God, being the...
Such a great year for albums in 1991.
What else came out in specifically 1991?
10 by Pearl Jam. The Black Album by Metallica.
Yeah.
Use Your Illusions 1 and 2 from Guns N' Roses. Nevermind from Nirvana.
Yeah.
So many, and I know I'm missing some, but those are like 5 huge contributions.
Oh, I love grunge. I'm amazed I didn't realize that 10 came out in 1991.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I thought it was a little bit later, but I thought it came out like a year maybe after Nevermind. I thought I have a very hazy idea of what the 90s were, to be honest.
Well, I mean, I can understand that. I mean, for someone
being 21, it's not like I can It's not like I
you have a
memories of it.
hazy memory of the '90s because you weren't there. But I was a kid through the '90s, so I get it.
Anything on Spiderland by Slint. I don't know if you've heard of that album.
Yes.
Anything on Spiderland by Slint. Nosferatu, man, especially. Breadcrumb Trail was a huge influence on the album I'm currently working on.
Nice.
Hell
yeah.
Slint fan. What
is something you've always wanted to do, but you're not coordinated enough to do?
Probably, I used to be in musicals, believe it or not, when I was a teenager. It's the reason why I learned to sing with any decency. My voice used to be very nasally, very awful. And I couldn't dance. I managed to get leads because of my voice and my acting. But, oh my God, was I the most god-awful dancer. Like, to the point where I was surprised they didn't just take me out of the roles half the time.
Right.
Definitely. And I was terrible at sports, which is probably one of the things that pushed me into music. I used to play soccer as a little kid, and I was absolutely the worst player on that field. I did marching band. I was absolutely the worst marcher on that field. Anything physical, I'm horrible at. Definitely.
Understandable. It's interesting because, like, you mentioned doing the musicals, like the high school plays and stuff like that, right? And it's very interesting because it's almost like a drum aspect.
Yeah.
That four-limb independence to dance and to play drums. So it's definitely that rhythmic quality of thing. And no, I can't do it.
It reminds me, there was actually this one song from Heathers the musical where, like, we had to sing in like 3/8 or something like that, which was just, and then it went to like 5/8. It would switch back and forth because the main character's going crazy. I do something similar in some of my music, but like when I want to signal a change in perspective, I'll change like the time signature to whatever. I like Holy goes from 6/8 to 4/4 when the main character makes a decision, and
interesting.
Sorry. Yeah, you actually have to be pretty rhythmically coordinated for that stuff.
Very much so.
I'm surprised by it.
What is the worst album by your favorite band?
Worst album by my favorite band? Shit. Probably I would probably go with a rapper for this one. I think I love Kanye West. I'm actually very influenced by like rap and soul and things like that.
Right.
I love Kanye West. I love My Beautiful Dark Twisted Family. Fantasy, Life of Pablo, and then he released Jesus is King. And I don't mind like soul and gospel music. I think his Sunday Service Choir is absolutely brilliant. But like, oh my God, that album is so bad. I don't know what he was thinking. I think what it was probably, my theory has always been that he was having a beef with Drake and he just wanted to get rid of all the beats that Drake wanted to use. So he just fucking threw lyrics about Chick-fil-A on there and shit. But I think that Kanye is brilliant. But that album, Jesus, man, I don't know what he was thinking.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. What was your favorite TV show growing up? This will be interesting because a lot of people that I know are a lot older. So they say things like, like That 70s Show or King of the Hill or stuff like that, stuff that was like prominent in like the late 90s and stuff.
See, I grew up in an era where like cartoons were even amongst teenagers were considered like great. Like you had like Adventure Time and things like that, right, and Adventures of Flapjack. And I think growing up, it was probably Chowder. There was a show called Chowder. It was about a little purple bear raccoon thing that just ate stuff, and he helped his family cook meals.
Interesting.
And
I've never heard of this.
The guy who created it, he's a genius. His name's C.H. Greenblatt. They currently are letting him do like a bunch of, I think, the Hanna-Barbera cartoons, Yogi Bear, stuff like that.
Oh, cool.
He's got his own little interpretation of it. He worked on SpongeBob. He worked on basically all the best cartoons of that time period, and I think that was like his own show.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Hey everybody, let me tell you about the new sponsor to the Metal Forge, Unchained Tapes. They're an independent Pennsylvania tape label. They focus on extreme metal and punk with a killer approach to the tape scene. Visit their web store at unchainedtapes.bigcartel.com now to get your fill of tapes. And for being a Metal Forge listener, enter the code METALFORGE10 at checkout to get a 10% discount on your total purchase. That's unchainedtapes.bigcartel.com. Hey, are y'all in a band? Do you need merch for shows? By now I'm sure you've seen all the Metal Forge patches that are available, along with many more. Well, the printer I use for those is UKR Patcher. Check them out on Facebook and Etsy. They do awesome custom work and for extremely affordable prices for any band budget. Check them out, UKR Patcher on Facebook and Etsy. Hey, let me tell you guys about Mercenary Press. They're an independent London label and distributor of all things metal. Mercenary Press delivers the goods from their own independent zine. Trust me, you're going to want to get in on that. To distributing various bands from all over the world, including Cramp from Spain and Sadistic Force from Texas. Visit mercenarypress.bigcartel.com to find out what all they have in stock and what you can order. And for Metal Forge listeners, enter code METALFORGE to receive a discount on your total purchase at mercenarypress.bigcartel.com. Check it out now. What band do you like that none of your friends like?
Probably, I think it might be Weezer.
Really?
Yeah, I'm actually...
none of your friends like Weezer.
Well, it's like, I think we grew up in an era where Weezer for a long time was not releasing good music. Like, you had, like, the Blue Album was amazing, of course. Pinkerton it's a little bit more controversial, but a lot of people really love it, and it was very influential. And I think when I was growing up, like, starting from when I was a very young kid, Weezer only just got into this phase, I think, where they released Beverly Hills, which is not a song that people my age like for some reason. I don't think it's that bad, to be honest, but it's not something I would write, but it's...
It definitely has its place, I think.
Yeah, and it's not as if it's that far. I feel like it's not as if it's that far out of their discography. But then you had Ratitude, which is like they were having like Lil Wayne features on their music and stuff like that. Can't Stop Partying is one of their songs. I could not believe what I was hearing. I still go back and listen to it for a laugh sometimes, but as much as I hate to say that, but
Weezer,
I think that Weezer's. I really respect that they just make whatever the fuck they want.
I think a lot with Weezer is they're a mid-90s college band.
Yeah.
Like if you were in college in the mid-90s, Weezer was where it was at. And and there's a few other counterpart bands that I could go off and say with the same regard. Oasis is another. You know, or the Cranberries is another. It's that mid-90s, college age band kind of thing. That's the Seattle without being Seattle kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And, because where you had the other bands like Nirvana and Pearl Jam, Soundgarden, Alice in Chains, those bands, you had other bands like the other alternative, like the Alanis Morissettes, the Cranberries, the Weezer, Oasis, the Wallflowers on the other side of all of that.
Like before indie truly became a real genre, I guess. I would say that Weezer and bands like that were definitely on the forefront.
For sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think that they're very innovative because of those things that people don't like about them.
Definitely. And the thing about it is, it's interesting, is, I'm primarily a metalhead. I listen to a lot of different music. Let's just say that I primarily enjoy metal more. But I will go out and say that those bands, like I just mentioned, had heavy influence on Metallica and so on and so forth, because they changed their style to an era that's exactly what it was with Load and Reload. I think their heavy is still heavy and but their lyrical content was massively different.
Yeah.
So the influence is there.
And before we move on, I just like to make fun of my drummer for this. His answer would be Limp Bizkit, And he's not here to defend himself, which is hilarious to me.
Dude,
So
the pictures that have where they were, I don't know what they were at, the festival that they had just played, and the memes that came out afterward were so great, because apparently the shit's a wig. With Fred Durst, that he's actually bald, and he was just like he has the Hulk Hogan handlebar mustache for real, but like the hair is totally fake apparently. And it sit there, and the meme that like got my attention and I still laugh at is it said that Fred Durst looks like he would sell me cocaine at a 7-Eleven bathroom and then bust me for it 45 minutes later. And I was like, yep.
I'm very fascinated by that band more than anything. I think I do have a curiosity. We've been listening to them like jokingly, like me and my close friends have been listening to them jokingly for like since I was in middle school, man.
Right.
But like there's also something interesting about like I think like even the worst bands are incredibly fascinating.
Oh, absolutely.
And I listen to them like either to learn what they're doing well or what they're doing like horribly wrong.
Right. No, you're absolutely right with that, because there's always, it's weird because you can have a band that's like top of the mountain and somebody who is just so bad, like cringe-worthy, not necessarily a bad musician, but just like their image is extremely cringe, and be at the very bottom and just be like, so, and they get some bit of stupid notoriety that's just like for being so fucking cringe-worthy.
Exactly.
And Limp Bizkit, you know, they're the Two-Face of metal at this point. And I say that because you either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become a villain.
And that is
that's
them. The Limp Bizkit story. Most definitely.
And, you know, I remember going and seeing them in 1999. And I think Significant Other had just dropped or was right about to drop. And like, it was just insane. Because they were riding that wave. They headlined Louisville Gardens. That tour was Stained, and this was before Stained became like emo Stained. You know, it was before Break the Cycle. They were still on their first album or second album, first commercial album, Dysfunction, and it was just like Fred was just like up in like ego maniacal.
Is it the Shred Durst video that's been going on? I'm sorry, continue.
I'm not sure.
Okay.
But like, it was just insane. But it was such a great time.
Oh, okay. Got it. My bad. There was this video that was going around of like Fred Durst was playing solo and he had this guitar.
Oh, no. That was well after.
Oh, okay. Got it.
That was, I think when he was doing that was like when Aaron Lewis went and did his solo stuff.
Oh, okay. Got it. Okay. Maybe I'm way off.
Speaking of concerts, what was your first concert?
My first concert, I think it was my first rock concert that I remember was Smash Mouth, actually.
Wow.
Yeah, really weird thing. I heard them on Shrek.
Right.
And I was very into actually, I think that was my first album too. Because I just happened to see it out and I was like, oh shoot, the Smash Mouth album is here. I picked that up for some reason. I was like 11. But you know what? Smash Mouth, they put on a good show, man. There was a Red Bull sponsorship in the middle of it, but it was a good show.
Nice.
4th Street Live, yeah.
Wow, a Red Bull sponsorship in the middle of a live show.
Yeah, and I thought, man, he really loves Red Bull, because I didn't know what sponsorships were back
then. Who do you wish you never saw live?
God, I don't know about that. I see, like, I love every band that I've seen has had some influence on me, even the worst ones. You know what I mean? I guess I remember there was this. If I had to point one out, I can't remember their name, but there was this band that it was more that it just pissed me off because we had to work on this. When I was working at New Albany Production House, and we had Midwest Bloodfest, which is like a massive hardcore festival, right? And all of the biggest hardcore bands from around the Midwest, even I think from different parts of the country, were coming to this festival. And there was this one band that in the middle of their set, they like just cut themselves. and they were bleeding, and we had to get rid of the mic because now there was blood all over it, and obviously that's a safety hazard. And then there was a whole like period. I think they blew some shit out that we had or something like that, and just completely fucked us over for like an hour afterward, if I was understanding correctly. Granted, I was like 15, so maybe
that is insane.
It was.
I mean, I understand putting on a show, but if you're like doing some like masochistic shit up on stage, you know, and when you're in and for the people who have listened to this that have ever been to New Albany Production House, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
For the people who have not, it is not a big place for a show.
Oh,
I mean, you could fit some pretty decent people in there, amount of people. But it was not like you're not fitting more than 150 people in there. Yeah. And if you did, they were packed in. So like to be able to do that, that's ridiculous.
I will say, when you actually talk to a lot of the people at Midwest Bloodfest, I mean, a lot of them would fucking trash the place horribly. Like, I didn't like the effect that it had on the building, but God, were they very nice and interesting people.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, like, I remember there was one dude in a band that, like, felt bad about it and just sat there, like, and just came out after the show and started helping me pick up fucking beer cans off the ground. Like, they're very nice people, very cool people. But shit would just always get destroyed. It was horrible.
Absolutely. And, you know, but you said they're nice and interesting people. And yeah, musicians usually are nice and interesting people regardless. And we're an eclectic group of people. And we tend to collect a lot of weird shit.
Yeah.
What do you collect?
What do I collect?
Video games. No.
Yeah, no, I'm not really much of a collector. I'm more of a, well, I guess if there was one thing, no, I can't really say I collect anything, man.
Interesting.
I'm one of those people that I guess
you're a minimalist.
Yes, actually, yes. Even for a time period, I was trying to be a minimalist with the music, but then I was like, I just want more stuff here. But
I mean, if you're a minimalist in every other aspect of life, I think there has to be something where you go all out on.
Yeah. I just kind of
and most of those minimalists go all out on drugs and alcohol, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, I couldn't if I wanted to, man. I'm terrified of that shit. Well, I mean, one thing that I think probably sticks out on the album maybe a little bit. So you remember the huge heroin crisis that was around,
absolutely.
Right? I mean, I grew up as a young kid during that, and I saw like a lot of pretty awful shit with it, you know. And I think everyone did around here because it was on national news about how bad it got, and so like, and like even when I look at my idols, Kurt Cobain, Jimi Hendrix, people like that, Jim Morrison, and drugs killed them. Yeah. So I stay far the fuck away from it, but.
You know, whether it had been, you know, direct or indirect.
Yeah. And it just, I guess that always just, a lot of people that I thought were very smart died as a result of drugs. Like people that were otherwise, they could have had a lot of potential. Just
absolutely
killed them.
You hear that? So don't fucking do drugs out there.
Don't do them.
What is your biggest pet peeve?
Biggest pet peeve. The first thing that comes to mind is occasionally when we're playing, my drummer will hit the middle of his fucking cymbal and it makes like this harsh ring noise and it kills me. But I would say
so he like hits the bell.
Yeah, he hits that
the bell hit. The bell hit pisses.
It rings in my brain, but he knows it. But I guess that's I guess that's probably not the real pet peeve. I would say like negativity among musicians, like that always pisses me off. Like people who like will publicly criticize other people's music when I mean like not necessarily like criticism's fine. I mean like
the man they fucking suck.
Yeah, like shit like that. And we don't have a lot of that here, I don't feel like. But you know, I feel like it's a massive it's a detriment to not work together.
Yeah. And it really
like,
is.
This industry, you know.
And that, I think on a local level, a lot of people view it as competition.
Exactly.
And there's no reason for that.
Yeah.
Because, you know, everybody has their moment in time, you know.
Well, not only that, but, you know.
And it's not like that anymore. The thing, you know, I agree with you.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like that anymore to the regard of if you're looking to get signed to Sony, Atlantic, those fucking places, why? Seriously, why do you want to be picked up by Sony, and why do you want to be picked up by some major corporation when there are more independent niche market labels out there that would probably be more suited for you and not fuck you over like Sony? And fuck you, Sony, if you're listening. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
You copyright strike my videos for 12 seconds of
of
a song. You can kiss my ass.
Yeah.
Sorry, got on my soapbox there for a minute.
Tell 'em.
But seriously, there's more of a niche market out there, and it doesn't have to be a competition. And with the internet, this is where I've said over the last few weeks about how the quote local scene is not necessarily a local scene. All these independent musicians out there know everybody. They're, you can like bands in Portland. You can like them in wherever, Sacramento, and they all put out great music. And you can play shows with these bands. And, everybody wants to go on tour. So, I mean, why is it considered a local scene? It's independent metal. It's independent music.
Especially
independent grunge.
Especially in an era where anyone can just pull up your music at any time. We don't compete for... When the audience comes to our show, other than for merch in a sense, which we don't really think about it too much, but technically we are competing for their money. But in reality, if they like your band, they're going to come buy your merch.
Exactly.
It has nothing. It doesn't have that much to do with what they're trying to pay for, how much money they have.
And you know what's super cool about that concept of what you just said is that you said if they like your band, they will buy your merch. And there is nothing. And any musician out there, you can email me. And you can message me on any of the social media sites if you disagree with this. But there is nothing more gratifying than someone who will come and buy your merch before they see your band play on a local level.
Yeah. I mean, when they just see the merch and they're like, damn, that looks nice. And then
exactly. There is nothing more gratifying than that. You could play a shit show, and you play a shit show, but they'll never notice that. And
what they want is the shirt.
They want that shirt, and they want that album and whatever else, which is awesome.
By the way, shirts available on Bandcamp, merch available on Bandcamp.
Definitely.
Welcome to the night. You think you know Night Demon? Then the Night Demon Heavy Metal Podcast is for you. Step into the darkness as we peel back the curtain to give you an unprecedented, all-access look into the mind and the heart of the demon. We're talking band history, song analysis, studio anecdotes, stories from the road. It's everything a diehard Night Demon fan could want and more. This is the only place to learn the inside scoop, the deep dive trivia, the untold tales from the band members themselves and those closest to the Night Demon story. Need more? The sacred Night Demon Crypt will be pried open to reveal demo recordings that have never before seen the light of day. All with in-depth commentary by the band and the people who were there for the writing and recording process. This is a gold mine, a treasure trove of all things Night Demon. Head over to nightdemon.net or wherever you listen to podcasts.
It's Gonna Get Weird is the name of the podcast. We're on season 2, so you have a whole season to get weird with Frank Green and Scott Clark. The best part is there's always laughter.
Oh, yeah, you need to pull that out.
We have national touring comedians, NFL stars, rock stars, your local friends. It always gets weird. Weird answers.
Have y'all ever snorted coke off of a 78 Pinto? No? You ain't no man.
Weird questions.
Who had a bigger cocaine habit, Jock Sutherland or Kaywood Ledford?
Neither one, because they stopped beating their wives.
And weird we never even thought of.
Well, no. My friend is on acid, and I sent my friend to go find a payphone so that I can call and turn myself in for murdering this guy and ruin my life.
We love all types of people, but we don't love all people.
Weird. It's Gonna Get Weird is the name of the podcast, available everywhere. And thank you to Big X Sports Radio for being a proud sponsor of It's Gonna Get Weird. Frank Green, Scott Clark. Yeah.
So I do have a couple more questions for you.
Yeah.
What album is an absolute playthrough for you?
Oh boy, I've been mentioning them all. I guess I'll try and think of something that La La Land by Wax Fang. It's a local band. I first heard them because their song "Majestic" was on American Dad when I was like 8 years old, but I was like, damn, that's a good ass song. And they're like a band. I would compare them to Queen almost. Right. They're very theatrical in that sense. And I love the way that their progression, their sense of progression in their music.
Definitely.
Every song.
And that is always a great thing to watch, I think.
Yeah.
Especially when you're on progression of a band is so interesting to me because I'm 38, okay? Mm-hmm. So I didn't get to watch the progression of, say, my favorite bands like Maiden, Metallica, and Megadeth, and these bands until, the mid-90s. Mm-hmm. Because that's, when I really remember a lot of, being first getting into music about 94, 95-ish. Mm-hmm. And, and they'd had a 15-year career before that.
Yeah.
So seeing bands like Black Sabbath and Led Zeppelin do that same thing, it was all after the fact. And getting listening to Master of Reality first and then being like, well, what comes before it and what came after it? Seeing a band do that in real time is so much more gratifying. To be a fan of a band today that maybe have started in, 2005. Just an arbitrary year, 2005, whatever. And to see the album that they put out in 05 and 07 and 2010 and 2014, just to see that progression is such a gratifying thing as a fan.
I think another good example of like how a band progresses over time. I would say another album that was put out. It was put out in about 2012. It's called Melted by an artist named Ty Segall. I'm not sure if you've heard of him. Well, that was very influential on me growing up, actually. That album is an absolute playthrough, but this man is a man who's, I don't know how in the hell he does it. He releases an album like every single year, and they're almost always bangers. They're almost always incredible. And, you just watch the way that he goes from like this incredibly weird fried garage rock artist to like more of a classic rock sounding artist, but still in his own like weird fried style. And I think that's it's been one of my favorite artists to watch.
Absolutely.
Over the years. Yeah.
I'll definitely check them out for sure.
Yeah. Same with Car Seat Headrest. That's an indie band that another guy that I think he released like 5 albums in 1 year. Dude's a monster, but now he's signed to a massive record label, and he was doing all this stuff from his laptop mic, and now he's like actually extremely well produced, and it's been incredible to watch.
Interesting, you know what I mean? For sure. So I've got one more question, but before we get into it, as always, links will be listed below. So go to that Bandcamp page, go to the Histrionics pages, give them a like, a share, a follow, Instagram, Facebook, wherever you can find them. Links will be listed below. Buy some merch, buy some albums, support these guys in any and every way you can. Do you have any shout outs you want to give to anybody before we go today?
To Belushi Speedball, a band and Senor Diablo. That's a local punk band.
Absolutely.
Everybody knows about them if you live here.
I drank the Listerine.
Yeah.
When they were on the Metal Forge back in 2019.
Oh, they were.
Yeah,
that's cool. Yeah,
yeah. They were actually on the radio version.
Ah,
and if I'm not mistaken, somewhere around here, Senor Diablo. I think I still have it. I'm pretty sure I do. I think I have it. I need to frame it. But Senor Diablo actually did my drawing on a chip bag. And presented it to me before they left.
Yeah. They're such supportive people. Like Senor Diablo, I just love his channel. It's like he just goes through and he records basically every band that comes around them, and I think that's so important. Like other forms of media in Louisville, which I guess I should shout out. Like Amber, who's going to be doing Amber of Earth is her tag on Instagram. I can't remember her full name, to be honest, but she does amazing photos. I'm just trying to shout out other talented people.
Absolutely.
A-Pod, amazing band, incredible, talented people. Anemic Royalty, incredible, talented people. God, if I missed you, I'm sorry. Shout out to Mom. Shout out to Grandma.
I do want to shout out to Phoenix for not being able to make it.
Shout out to Phoenix. Shout out to my drummer Phoenix. Shout out to my bassist Rylan, who is a genius. They're both geniuses, for the record.
Definitely. Well, Phoenix couldn't be here. He was planned to be here, but he's actually allergic to cats, and I have 2 cats. So we might get another interview with Phoenix down the road some point in a neutral location where he's not like dying from the cats being around him.
He's a very interesting person. I think any interview with Phoenix would be an absolute blast. So if you do get around that, people, please listen to it. You'll have a blast. Guaranteed.
Hell yeah. So final question for the Metal Forge today is, what album changed your life?
In Utero by Nirvana, most definitely. I know that I think that it's just, okay, so I remember, so how I started my whole music journey, I guess, was I heard the song Happy by Pharrell Williams about 10 billion times, and I absolutely hated it to the point where I was like, man, I gotta just make.
You
my
weren't
own music.
happy.
Yeah, I was like, man, I guess I was like, be the change you want to see in the world. So I just picked up a guitar for Christmas, and a little bit before that, I had heard the song Heart-Shaped Box, I think, by Nirvana, and I just was so fascinated by how like pretty and ugly a song could be.
Absolutely.
And I just that definitely changed to the way that I saw music. Absolutely.
Definitely.
He just managed to take very ugly things and make them beautiful, I think.
There is a book out there, and if I find it again, I will definitely pick it up for you. And if you might already actually have it, that it's the complete Nirvana noted recordings.
Mm-hmm.
And basically what it is it goes through every album and it gives notes on the album, the way they were recorded, like the thought process behind the recording of the album. It actually goes in and breaks down the different versions of albums. Like, for example, Nevermind, the first version doesn't have the secret track on it.
Yeah.
And then it's like the second printing of it does.
Mm-hmm.
But, or like certain songs will be out of an order on a certain printing of an album.
Yeah.
It's an extremely awesome book because going back and reading it about, and I used to have it years ago, and I don't know whatever happened to it. Kurt Cobain was so meticulous on the way he recorded an album. When they went to record in like Minnesota or Wisconsin for when they recorded Nevermind with Butch Vig, he budgeted out. They got $60,000 to record that album.
Yeah.
Butch Vig was like 45 of it.
Yeah.
And it was crazy. You know, his fee was $45,000.
I think Steve Albini did the same thing. They offered him $100,000 and he was like, absolutely don't give me $100,000 for this. And I think he took like 50 or something like that.
Right.
Or less. Yeah.
So when they budgeted all that, it was like Cobain, pronouns pal, Cobain knew that like how much tape they would need.
Yeah.
Reels of tape, that they could only afford like 6 reels of tape because they were like, at that point in time, you know, they were like $50 a reel or some shit like that. And they were like 30-minute reels, and they had to know how many times that they could record each song before they ran out of tape. And it's just insane.
Yeah, no, I mean, they were the level of attention to detail and just experimentation.
Yeah.
When you read about like the kind of person that he actually was in his own time, like I remember I read that he had this, where the name Montage of Heck, like that documentary where that comes from, was that Kurt Cobain he used to make tapes and things like that, and all he would do is just take a bunch of songs and just kind of mash them together into like really weird noises. And I think that like it had a big impact on his work, because you hear something like Radio Friendly Unit Shifter and the way that they use noise to portray, you know, the mindset of the song. I think that the way they use noise was just, I think that how it kind of came out into that band, it's fascinating.
Definitely.
It's fascinating
Oh, it absolutely is. And it's like, I guess in closing to that is, that old saying, there's a real fine line between insanity and genius.
Yeah, and Kurt Cobain straddled that line, and he knew it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, Quinton, thank you so much
Of course.
for coming on the Metal Forge this week. It's been a great time. I've enjoyed everything that we've talked about for sure.
All right.
So, off of the album Static, what are we going to go out on today? What are we going to play?
I would say Exorcism. Probably be fans would most like that one. You heard that yet?
I have not. So this will be a first for me even.
Yeah.
You heard him. This is Exorcism.
Let me take your hand. With mine, I'll leave you stay. I'll take this world and I'll make it more than me. And I'll never sleep, and I'll never breathe. I'll leave you alone. I'll leave you with me. I was young, I was afraid. We'd been left to rot. We'd been thrown away. Where have you gone? Where have you been? I left you to rot. I threw you away. And I'll never sleep. And I'll never breathe. I'll leave you alone. I'll leave you with me. Let me take your hand. With mine, I'll leave you stay. I'll take this world and I'll make it more than me.
Hey, thank you all for tuning into this week's episode of The Metal Forge. I want to take a minute to remind you guys about the Patreon page. Over on the Patreon page, we have the tiers set up to support the production of the show. We feature the Down and Dirty, which is just $1. There's nothing special for that one, it just sends me a thank you because every dollar helps. Then there's the Double Down and Dirty. Much akin to the Down and Dirty tier, everything helps produce the show in the end. You make your presence known, and I appreciate that more than you realize. Thank you for being a dedicated friend and supporter of the Metal Forge. By selecting that tier, you will receive some cool Metal Forge stickers in your mailbox. Now, we're really going to start pounding the metal madness with the Apprentice Metalhead for just $5 a month. By becoming an Apprentice Metalhead, you'll be given early access to the shows, published 24 hours before everyone else gets it. You're also going to receive 3 entries in any contest that we do here at the Metal Forge. You're also going to receive a 10% discount on all Metal Forge merch, and you're going to receive a sweet Metal Forge patch for your battle jacket or backpack. And now, here is the big one. This is the Master Metalhead for just $10 a month. By becoming a Master Metalhead, you will receive a hand-numbered Metal Forge Master Metalhead membership card. You're going to be given early access to the shows as well, with 36 hours before everyone else. You're going to receive 5 entries in any contest that we do here at the Metal Forge. You'll be able to submit audio questions that I will use on the show of you asking questions to the upcoming guests. Remember, timing is everything, and you will need to keep up with the upcoming guest list on the website. You're also going to receive advanced knowledge of any new merch coming out and be given a 25% discount on all Metal Forge merch. And you're also going to get all of the other rewards from the other tiers. So visit patreon.com/Metal Forge Radio today and help support the Metal Forge. Rock on.